McAdoo Pizza presents SDP. The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle and Adam Wilde.
I just have one thing to say.
TFC! 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 Soccer!
Woo!
Soccer!
Yeah!
Canadian football and soccer!
And it was a real hockey goal that Josie Altidore scored because he was injured.
It was.
And actually, one of the commenters afterwards was like, he's like the Bobby Bond of soccer in Canada. And I was like, well, I mean, Bobby Bond's leg was broken. But,
I saw a lot of hockey versus soccer yesterday, and I'm like,
what?
everyone, knock it off!
Why does it have to be versus? Why can't it just be soccer is great and hockey is great, and we enjoy both?
Steve, I think you follow too many hockey people.
I think I follow too many people.
Yeah.
Are you up over 1,000?
Oh, well over 1,000. So here, wait. Let me check. Let me check right now, because I know I was over 4,000. I think it was at 4,200, and I slashed that number, it down to currently 2,683.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people to unfollow, though. So I'm recovering. You know, I feel like in my recovery process, like I reached a milestone, deleted 1,000 followers.
I respect the
unfollowed 1,000 people.
If you unfollowed one person per second, that takes out all the deciding time. How long is 1,000 seconds?
How many minutes is that? Man, now you're asking me to do division, 1,000 divided by 60. So does this count? Is this my division question for the show?
No, we'll get to
Damn it. Okay, good, because it's too hard.
1,000 divided by 60 is 16.6.
So that's 15 minutes if you just went click, click, click,
Is
click,
that
click,
how that
click,
works? Is that equals...
I think so.
Is that just 16 minutes?
Yeah.
It's like 16 and a half minutes.
Yeah, because it's by 60 seconds in a minute. 16.6.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Listen, hey, how many guys does it take to divide with a calculator?
You know how many listeners right now are like, I don't know if I'm feeling this, but it's not cysts. So
at least I can eat lunch and listen.
You know how many people?
But think about that.
I was eating lunch.
That's not a long.
It's not a long time, but consider the time then that you have to decide: do I need this person or not? Do I need to follow this person? Do I need their knowledge?
I think very hard about a lot of it.
Okay, so it still takes.
No, you need to, when you're like flicking through your timeline, when you see a tweet and you're like, ugh, why do I follow this person? Then you hit unfollow. So just do it while you're casually on the app.
Now, here's the only thing that tripped me up. There were so many people who were like, I'm going to unfollow them, but they followed me, and I'm like, I don't want to hurt their feelings.
No, nobody's thinking like that.
There's people.
There are.
There's people who I like to talk to individually.
Yeah,
but when they tweet, I'm just like, you're awful.
That's what
that's
what the mute button is for.
That's what I do too.
I do a ton of mutual follow mutes.
Yeah, and also,
I love them all. But
anybody who gets upset that you're not following them on Twitter doesn't deserve any attention in your life.
All right.
Now,
you should work at Sage.
If Steve unfollowed you on Twitter, Jesse.
Sage is that store that sells like those peppermint roll-on sticks. It's that peppermint stuff that gets rid of your headache. I just feel like you deliver sage advice, and you're like, you know what? You could use some essential oils to calm yourself down.
You should meditate more.
Jesse is
more
a guru.
Meditation, less Twitter. Namaste.
I actually believe in that, so whatever.
I mean, me too. I just don't practice any of it.
If Steve unfollowed you, Jesse,
yeah,
I have a feeling that you probably wouldn't care. You'd probably be like,
no, I wouldn't give a shit at all.
No, okay. If Steve
Are you still my friend?
If Steve unfollowed me, I'd be like, yo.
I don't know. Now,
I'd be like, what the hell?
Facebook,
If you unfollowed me, I'd be like, wait a second, what the hell? Not because I would instantly assume, because I think differently, I think, that something's wrong. Because what? It's not about the fact that he unfollowed, it's why. What led to him unfollowing me? And then I would be like, but that's like that's my best friend. Like, what would I do? Wow, did you just unfollow me? But you're following my mom?
I am following her. It's funny because I didn't even do that. She just popped up, and she's not following me, so this is trash. Or is she? Wait, let me see.
I think
she's not. Typical Bell employee. Unbelievable.
Did you refollow me?
Yeah, fine. I'll follow
you
you back. Team Rogers.
All right. Only because it's Rogers.
You're like, it wouldn't bother Jesse, and I'm like, yeah, you're right.
I would just be
so
curious.
I'll unfollow Adam.
I'd be curious as to be like, you know, what led to that action?
Maybe your tweets are shitty.
Some of them are.
Maybe
you
your
deserve
hot
it.
takes. No, and so what led to what I said about soccer was, so it's maybe I'll follow good people with good takes, But what they do is they get outraged by bad takes and they quote tweet it into my timeline. So now it's like I'm following the shitty take.
You know who you should follow for soccer? Brendan Dunlop.
No.
I should. Oh, for footy?
Yeah, for footy. You should follow him.
Footy.
Oh, footy.
Yeah.
He'll tell you all about the pitch.
I'm excited.
I can't wait
I'm
to have
always
him on.
excited to hear Brendan Dunlop's thoughts on the match between City and Villa.
Is Liverpool coming up next?
Oh, the Reds?
Can you guys listen? You make fun of Brendan Dunlop as though you don't talk the same way about hockey.
Oh yeah, get in there, boys. Friggin' dust her up. Dump Buxton deep. 110%. Whatever. Would that be the equivalent? Oh yeah.
Well,
I'm sure there's
if
elements
it is
of that.
the equivalent, then then soccer is far more eloquent than hockey.
It is.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That
It's
That is the
European.
equivalent. Okay, fair enough.
Have you heard a European talk?
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
true.
so much better than anybody from North
Yeah,
America.
you're right.
No
So
accent in North America compares to anything in Europe.
No.
anyway, shout out TFC, and also it's possible to like more than one sport. Thank you. Had my piece.
No.
It's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Disagree.
Wow. Hey, New Jersey and Anaheim made a deal today, and this is a big one. Sammy Vatanen, who's been obviously on the trade block for a long time. He was rumored to go to the Leafs for a while.
Rumored to go to Vegas.
And Vegas, too. Tyler Dello actually wrote a piece in The Athletic this summer about why the Leafs should sidestep him. Not because he's a bad player, but because he really doesn't fit what the Leafs needed, which was a little bit more of a sturdy top
Like a
end
defensive stalwart.
Yeah, which
They're not puck movers.
Vatanen is a puck mover, and he's left-handed shot. But Jersey could sure use him. And they got him for Adam Henrique, Joseph Blandisi, and a 2018 third-round pick. That sounds pretty respectable. That's a really well-balanced trade.
I thought so. When I first heard of the deal, so this was the first time, I think this is the most consecutive moves I've missed in a very long time without checking Twitter, because I was at the gym and then I was in the car and then I was on the phone with someone and they're like, oh, how about that trade? And I'm like, what? What trade? What?
I love
He's
how
like, oh, there were two trades.
Steve's version of missed is like he didn't hear about it for like 3 hours.
That is my version of missed.
I got in the car with him this morning, Jesse, to park his car, and he said, wow, you sure miss a lot when you're disconnected from Twitter. I'm like, when were you disconnected from Twitter? He's like, well, for like
quarter after 10.
for like 2.5 hours this morning. I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
But I missed all these things. And when I first heard of the trade, I thought it was just Henrique for Vatanen, and I'm like, I don't know about that. But Anaheim fans, if any of you are listening, you will like Joseph Blandisi because he's on your team. Everyone else is going to hate him. Randy Carlyle is going to love having Joseph Blandisi on his team.
Well, and when Ryan Kessler comes back, they'll have Kessler and Blandisi. They are going to be
Perry.
They're going to be a pain in the ass. That's 3 lines of God. I hate the Anaheim Ducks. Unless you are a Ducks fan, and you're going to love it.
Yeah, no. If you're a Ducks fan, that's not the worst trade.
And Adam Henrique,
and you need a center.
yeah,
for
sure.
And Henrique, he's a good player.
And what's a third-round pick's a third-round pick.
And wasn't there a conditional pick or something going
Not
on?
from what I'm reading,
Other
but
way?
I could be wrong.
Doesn't matter. I mean, the picks are...
Oh, conditional third-round pick from Anaheim.
Yeah, so that's pretty much a wash. So it's basically Blandisi and Henrique for Vatanen. Henrique on his own, I'm like, I don't know, but the two of them. I see Blandisi as a long-term NHL player.
It's interesting,
I hate playing against him. I'm glad he's out of the East, to be frank.
Think about when Ray Shero, who was the architect, I believe, of the Pens' first cup since the 90s. When he got to New Jersey, he's brought in Taylor Hall, Sammy Vatanen, Kyle Palmieri, and Marcus Johansson. And he has gotten rid of Adam Henrique, Adam Larson, Joseph Blandisi, 2 seconds and 2/3 to do it. That's pretty unbelievable.
What was the Hall again? Taylor.
Taylor
and,
Hall, Sammy Vatanen, Palmieri, Johansson for Henrique, Larson, Blandisi, 2 seconds and 2/3.
But if you look at it that way, there's also the cap room, Lucic, Puljujärvi, and
Connor McDavid's first-round pick.
That's an excellent haul.
That is.
That is a very excellent haul. Not just Taylor.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. And, it goes to show, and I know that Anaheim, again, is dealing from a position of strength here. They knew that they had defense. They have defense coming out their ears. They were able to lose Shea Theodore.
When they're healthy, they have approximately nothing coming out of their ears right now.
Shea Theodore,
Crunches.
but they were able to lose Shea Theodore to Vegas, and that was no big thing. And they've got more prospects in the pipeline, apparently. So it's interesting that they make this deal. And it's interesting that there seems to be a real shape of what the New Jersey Devils are going to be. Now, if you haven't watched a Devils game this year, I highly suggest you do if they haven't played your team yet, because they are, on paper, you're like, who are these people?
Oh, they're one of the best teams in the league.
But they are one of the best teams in the league because of the style of play. They've committed to what they are. And I think it's really a very attack-centric, which is anti-New Jersey Devils under Lou Lamoriello. It's a very fast attack sort of team, and I think Vatanen kind of fits that.
He does, but I would like to see Henrique in there as well. Like, I wonder how that affects them. Because, again, Vatanen does help in one aspect, but now you're losing a center.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't he playing with Hall for a while? Or for the most part, even?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to remember exactly. I don't know. Johansson, I suppose, made him a little bit more expendable. Expensable. That's my new word. A little confusing. I
don't know, man. I think it's pretty well balanced trade.
They needed more defense. I think when we were looking at them in the summer, well, I don't know. They kind of needed everything. Like, they barely had a team signed,
right?
Except for guys in the minors who I think are the driving force behind why they're good. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on. The Ducks get a lot of leeway because of all the injuries. I'm interested to see if the Devils now keep it up or if they stumble a bit. Or get even better.
It goes again to talk about, too, I think, anyway, when you look at what Ray Shero has done in the last couple of years, the moving skill in versus moving skill out.
Yes.
So when you talk about trading a star, and I don't hate to bring it back to Taylor Hall. Everybody wants to say they hate bringing it back to that trade, but let's talk about that trade. And let's talk about, what Edmonton has unfortunately, been faced with. And even though I don't think the Oilers are a bad team, they're certainly playing worse than they are. If you move skill out, better make sure something's coming back. And that's not that Adam Larsson isn't skilled. It's just that skill is very, very hard to replace. And New Jersey's done a great job of sending picks and good players and getting back pretty good and great players.
So here's what I want to do right now. So let's compare what they've lost. So Henrique, I believe, is a center. So you're doing Henrique for Johansson. Mm-hmm. It's not so bad. You're doing Vatanen for Larsson.
Mm-hmm. Defensively.
I think, second pairing guys who can play on your first if need be. Mm-hmm. Then we got Palmieri for who's left?
Blandisi.
Yeah. Did I? Oh, I thought I started with Blandisi. Sorry. So you got Palmieri for Blandisi, which is fantastic. And then what? Taylor Hall for 2 seconds and 2/3? How about you mix it up a little bit?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'd say that's a very good job by Shero. I'm just wondering how it's going to affect them on the ice this season. But at the same time, was success on the ice this season
a goal?
Paramount? I mean, I'm sure it was a goal, but was it paramount for the Devils? I don't think so.
I was listening to Hockey Central the other day, and they were actually talking about, and I think this is right before Edmonton won, because this is always the way it goes. But they were talking about the chances of Edmonton making it. And Doug McLean said, "Listen, I don't think that they're done, and I don't think he's wrong in saying that. Like, there are a few points out. It's not dire. They're just not the Stanley Cup favorites we thought they were going to be."
And they're going to bring it against the Leafs, I think.
Oh, for sure.
They're an ornery, pissed-off team. Yeah. And when you lose to the Leafs like they did last year, are you going to hear about it?
Yeah. No.
Are you going to hear about it?
They're going to come out guns blazing.
How many steps up did Nazem Kadri's career take after one regular season win?
It's true.
Like,
it's
seriously.
True. And so the way I look at this is kind of like... what Nick Kypreos ended up saying was that he said, sometimes you may have to miss the playoffs.
Sometimes.
And he suggested that it might even be in Edmonton's best interest. Maybe not in Chiarelli's best interest. And I was like, I don't know. I was curious about what you thought about that.
Well, there were some mutterings I saw on Twitter. Ooh, mutterings. That's different from whispers. That they're basically their only option left if they want to improve this season is trading futures, which just doesn't make any sense. So I think, kind of like Bergevin said with Montreal,
the answer's in that room.
The answer has to be in the room.
Or he can call it Bergevin, Chiarelli and Bergevin. Make it happen.
That or you got to put on your GM hat and pull off a steal. You got to be able to make a trade that looks relatively even on paper, get something that really helps your team out, and the other team, who cares? What if you get a guy like, just because the Leafs are always in the forefront of my mind, what if you get Soshnikov and turn him into a star? Turn him into a second liner with Draisaitl.
And he gets 45 points.
You got to put your GM hat on or wait.
Or Josh Levo.
Basically your only two options. Yeah. GM hat. That's a GM hat trade. I just invented a new type of trade.
GM hat.
Yeah. A hat.
Tampa also missed the playoffs last season.
Yeah, they
but
did.
that was due to injuries more.
Yeah.
So, but it didn't
But they
ruin
sure
the
benefited.
franchise.
No, they sure benefited.
And they came out on top this season.
I'll come to the defense. I'll come to the defense of the Oilers a little bit, because what's the friggin' rush? Like, what is the rush?
Yeah.
Like we said, how we kind of made
I don't know,
fun
Steve.
of this.
Connor McDavid's going to be 21, so
I mean, pretty soon
he's toast, man.
It's going to be like he'll be able to grow like a full beard.
He'll be over the hill, overpaid.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like how we were making fun of people for like, the Leafs have a 2 or 3 year window. No, they don't.
It's like a 15 or 16 year window.
Yeah, Nylander, Marner, and Matthews will all be
Leafs.
like under 23 by the end of this so-called window. So I think they'll be okay.
And in a decade, they'll all be either in the midst of or the end of their prime.
Yeah.
In a decade.
And Draisaitl
10
was
years.
drafted the same year as Nylander, and McDavid was drafted the same year as Marner. I feel like the Oilers might have a little more gas in the tank.
I feel like once he hits 21 and he's able to drink in the U.S., everything's downhill from there.
Well, he
True.
turns 21 in Vegas.
Oh, how perfect is that?
So the window is
7
like,
days off.
The window's like 2 months, really.
yeah.
You got to win in those 2 months, and that's it.
Better win the cup before December.
Exactly.
I can't wait for the beginning of that movie. Lucic just calls up Chiarelli. Hey, Chia. Yeah. We messed up.
All of a sudden, in their last 7 games, the Senators are 0-6-1.
Man, there were a few teams. I looked at the standings this morning where I looked at the bottom and I went, what are you doing there? I didn't know you were that bad.
Well, and
Sens?
let's put this in perspective.
The Wild?
They're third last in the East right now. They're ahead of only Florida and Buffalo. Over this stretch, their penalty kill has been sitting at 83%. Their power play is sitting at, and I hope you're sitting down, 4%.
All right, that's going to improve. Wow.
Seems like they can't score, and it also seems to have coincided with Matt Duchene coming to town, but I don't think you can really blame it on Matt Duchene.
It's kind of funny, though.
They make it big. The move, I mean, as a Leaf fan, it's great.
Yeah, you trade for this guy who's supposed to be this great offensive talent, and then your team goes cold. And he goes cold.
The Sens are so annoying, though. That's why I haven't really chirped. I'm like, please stay this way. Please stay this bad.
Here's a couple things that I kind of looked into, and I thought it was, first question was, do you think the thing that made them strong, especially in the playoffs last year, other than Erik Karlsson, as a team?
I was like, the guy with the broken foot.
Other than the Peyton Manning of hockey.
Oh, God, no.
No? You don't?
Nobody's Peyton Manning of anything. Peyton Manning is garbage.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's a take.
I do you want to hear my Peyton Manning
Yeah. Now I do.
I'm interested. Okay, because
All of
again,
our Indianapolis
very
listeners.
novice football knowledge. All I've ever been told is one of the greatest of all time.
Peyton Manning is one of the greatest of all times, but he's not the greatest, and he never will be. And for decades, people have been trying to peddle this narrative of Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning, but it's never been close.
No, it
because
hasn't.
one of them has been so much better than the other one. So whenever anybody says Peyton Manning is this great quarterback, I'm like, but he lived through an era where he wasn't the greatest. And that's it.
Does that make him garbage?
He's
though?
not garbage. Like, that's,
Okay.
that's
All right,
just
that's
me
a claim.
using
I was like,
words.
this is interesting.
Peyton Manning is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but he's not the greatest.
You're calling Peyton Manning the Ron Francis of the NFL. Yeah. Oh, the numbers are there, Ron, but you were never the greatest.
Yes.
Oh, gee. Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Mr. Saracen.
The
Oh,
thing
Mr.
that
Hat.
so back to what we were saying about the Sens,
I like this
Mr.
better.
Hat. Could the one thing that made them strong, which was their defensive ability, that 1-3-1 system that shut everybody down and took the Penguins to the 7th game in overtime in the Eastern Conference Final, could that finally be coming back to haunt them a little bit?
I'm not sure. I mean, that seemed to happen with Tampa. Back when Boucher was with Tampa, they seemed like this.
And they had some offensively
How is anyone
talented.
ever going to solve this? Oh, they solved it. Now, I don't know. I haven't watched enough of the Sens to know if they're not doing that anymore or not.
Well, one thing that's been highlighted is the fact that whenever there is an offensive rush, everybody on the Sens seems a little bit too worried about following the player with the puck. So imagine you're going into the zone, you're in the neutral zone, you blast through it like it's Erik Karlsson or something like that, and then all of a sudden you get across the opponent's blue line. There's two guys that have kind of angled you off, and nobody behind you to protect you.
And weren't they,
Nobody to pass the puck to, so you lose it.
weren't they undefeated at the beginning of the season when Karlsson was out?
I think so, yeah.
What a silly team.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't get
So
it.
I'm wondering, like, if this is just a bad
You have
streak.
so much better analysis. I'm just like, they're silly.
But is it a bad streak, or are the Sens going to come back?
I think so. I look at them on paper, and I just think they're definitely flawed.
Mm-hmm.
They have flaws, but they're a little too good to be this bad. They're not bottom of the league.
Because all these teams at the bottom are like, okay, they're better on paper. So who's actually bad?
Well,
Like Arizona is actually bad.
Yeah, they are.
And
Man,
I
but
guess
they're not
Buffalo,
that bad.
But they're not that bad. You look at them.
You know, Buffalo is pretty bad.
Buffalo's bad.
Yeah.
I think Buffalo's really
Up
bad.
front, they're good. Behind, they are garbage.
Oh.
And Leonard really, I mean, for as much as I've criticized him in the past, he really covered up a lot of blemishes last year. Now that those numbers have tanked, whew, that's where they belong. If you can't get goaltending out of him, that's where you belong.
And like the second last place team in the West is Edmonton, and we don't think they're that bad. And
an even
Minnesota is ahead of them. Is there too much parity?
It's an even league. I don't think it's that there's too much parity. I think we need to react differently to the parity because we look at a team that's bottom 5 and we think, oh, it's a crisis and they need to change everything. No, you probably need to change one, maybe two things, and then you get an extra, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 points in the standings, and whoa, all of a sudden you're
Right.
in the
And
playoff
that's the
picture.
thing is the separation between 5 and 25 is often less than 10 points.
Yeah.
Like, what's the difference right now between? Okay, here, we'll look at this here. So this is the West. So to make the playoffs in the West right now, you got to have 27 points. So we got Nashville has 33. They're the third team in the Central. Pacific, you got San Jose with 28. They're the third team in the Pacific. The two wild card teams are Dallas and Chicago with 27 each. And then it's Calgary 27, Colorado 26, Vancouver 26, Anaheim 26, Minnesota 25, Edmonton 22, Arizona 16. The only team that is like clearly behind the pack is Arizona and to a degree Edmonton. Arizona 16 points and they played 27 games. That's bad. What about
Edmonton's still 5 points out.
exactly? What about the East? So 1, 2, 3 in the Metro is 33, 32, 32. That's crazy. Tampa 36. Screw you guys. Leafs 33. Now the East is very interesting. Boston has 26 points. Keep that in mind. The two wild card teams: 29 Washington, 29 Pittsburgh. Remember, Boston had 26 points. The Rangers, who are not in a playoff spot, have 28. The Hurricanes, 25. Detroit, 25. Montreal, 25. Philly, who's lost 9 straight games and picked up 6 points. 23 points.
Losing 9 games, they still pick up 6 points.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. Sens 22. Florida 22. Buffalo 16. The only two teams who are visibly behind everyone are the Coyotes and Sabres.
Yeah.
Really?
You know what? You asked who a legitimately bad team is? I think Montreal is a bad team.
But they got Carey Price.
Exactly.
But Carey Price is on their team.
Sure. So here's
good point.
We've had this conversation before.
think
Where I'm
Montreal-
like, they're bad, but
but Carey Price. Detroit, I don't think is a good team.
Okay.
No.
I don't think Detroit's a good team at all.
No, but
I think
they're
are
right there, though.
They are for sure right there, and they are for sure. I think a Detroit fan would back me up on this one. I think they're playing above what you would expect their skill level to be. I think Anthony Mantha coming back totally helped too. Although they're going to be in contract hell with him next season. I think they're already against the cap, and there's stuff on Detroit that we need to talk about coming up. But I think they're not a good team. I have a hard time with Colorado being 12-9. I just don't see it. But Semyon Varlamov is their goalie.
He's being very
and
good.
he was the reason that they were number one in the league 3 years ago, right? Or 4 years ago.
Notice something this morning. So the East has 16 teams, and that's what I noticed. No, they had 16 teams. How many teams have a positive goal differential?
7.
Okay.
I'm going to go with, I sort of saw that a couple days ago or last week or something, and it's very small. It's like 3 to 5.
Ooh. You say 3 to 5. Jesse says 7. Answer is 6.
Oh,
So
that's not much.
Like, that's pretty surprising to me. All three of the top 3 teams in the Metro, Columbus, Islanders, Devils, they're all positive. Tampa's plus 25, LOL. Toronto's plus 14. Boston, minus 5. Washington, minus 1. Pittsburgh, minus 16.
Remember, they had a couple blowouts.
Got their ass kicked. Rangers, not in the playoffs, and worse than Boston, according to the standings, plus 5. So the East has 6 teams with a positive goal differential only, and one of them's not even in a playoff.
I have to say, I do find it very funny. It's comical that the Pittsburgh Penguins are on the edge of being out of the playoffs. That's funny.
They won't miss.
Of course not.
Well,
but I think it's
Matt Murray
he got injured.
might have an injury.
Yeah.
But still, their goaltending, which is why the Antti Niemi signing was a little confusing to me, their AHL goaltending is fine. So if he's out for a couple weeks, I think they'll be okay with guys like, who's it, Jari and DeSmith? Mm-hmm. I think they'll be okay.
On the other side of last night's game between Montreal and Ottawa, Montreal has won 3 straight games, and Carey Price looks like he's back for real.
You bet. What's more fun? What's
Way more
fun?
fun.
Montreal's bad or Price being wicked and propping that team up?
I think it's Price being wicked and propping that team up.
Hey, let's make a prediction. Okay. Saturday night, do we get to see a Carey Price shutout?
Oh, man. Does that mean there's a goal for Detroit then that shouldn't have gone in? Is that a Carey Price shutout?
I like how that started this whole streak.
By the way, Jesse, random question. The door for somebody walked into our control room.
I saw that.
Do we mind closing that? Because people are just walking in and out. Is that okay? Dude, sorry.
That was weird.
Yeah, no, I know.
No, I hope we get to see. I've never understood this. There is a need to make the game more exciting. I think you always want the game to be exciting, but I don't think you necessarily need goals for that.
Right.
Like, who was going toe-to-toe the other day? Anderson. It certainly wasn't Warden Darling. Oh, Anderson and Mike Smith trading blows. Trading highlight reel saves. Like
unreal. Like those heel saves they both made.
Unbelievable. And Mike Smith he's of an older generation where, does he love mustard? Oh, with the glove. Every time. Oh, he's got a very flexible left rotator cuff. Loves it. Loves it.
He's a video game goalie.
He is a video
Yes.
game.
He's saving NHL 18.
Honestly, I miss those saves.
Statue of Liberty goal.
Oh, yeah.
No, he's no, I love a good goalie duel. So I need, for the game to be exciting, I need, some speed. An increase in shots would be nice.
I just named 2 teams I thought were bad, and we're going to their game on Saturday night in Montreal.
Which means it'll be a clash of the Titans. All I want is an even matchup, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if they're good or bad. Although, I mean, watching 2 good teams play each other is better, let's be honest. But I don't. If that might be junior hockey. We might get to watch a really good goalie duel.
Speaking about good teams playing each other, you sent us the note about Manitoba and Toronto.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't even realize it when we announced. So that's the box night, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna watch the Toronto Marlies take on the Manitoba Moose when?
December 17th.
I think. Yep, that sounds right. They are 1-2 in the AHL by a country mile, and I didn't even realize that. The Marlies and Moose each have 32 points, and I think the next closest team is Rochester with 26. Like they're just in their own league right now with Manitoba.
It'll be fun.
And the Moose are gonna get hit with. No.
I still haven't figured out how we're gonna give those tickets away.
I listened to that
And how
line
many
again,
we
and I was
have.
just like,
Yeah, we have to figure out how many we have.
Okay.
We'll
Do you
save it
have
for next
this
episode.
information?
I don't. I think it's like 17. But
We'll get it.
Sorry, guys. It's been a crazy
just
week.
just sort through your emails when you're nursing your hangover next Monday.
For the Leafs, and unfortunately, I think for Calgary and Mike Smith, Tuesday night might have been the best game of the season for the Leafs.
Yes. I was underwhelmed with Calgary. And I don't know if that was the Leafs making them look shitty or the Flames just being shitty.
Yeah, they could have had an off night. I don't think the Flames are shitty. I think that is fairly clear. The Flames are not a shitty team.
Holy shit, that goal that Freddie stopped. That highlight reel, tic-tac-toe, Harlem Globetrotters, crazy.
In his last 8 starts.
Every single Leaf on the ice should be like, thank you, Freddie. Thank you for keeping us off the highlights for the rest of the... in June, July, August, when they're doing those end-of-the-year specials, and here's Calgary lighting the Leafs the fuck up.
Which I mean... The Leafs always were on the butt end of all those highlight shows for years. Like it was always like tic-tac-toe, Leafs against. Oh, that sucks.
Like whenever I saw guys have like big goal celebrations against the Leafs in like 2010, I'm like, oh, shut up. You're not special. Everyone got one of those.
Calgary also gets Arizona at home tonight, so they'll probably go to town on them.
Never know.
You can't start Mike Smith again, can you? Against his old team.
Sure you can.
Who could sure use him right now. Frederick Anderson has a 952 save percentage in his last 8 starts.
Sustainable.
It's definitely sustainable. McMatthews lineup or matchup tonight. Talbot, it looks like Cam Talbot's going to be out. He's got an upper body injury. He suffered that Tuesday against the Coyotes. So we might be able to thank the Coyotes for that. But as you said, you think the Oilers are going to bring it.
I do. McDavid is a fiery guy. Like one thing that I think is underrated about McDavid and Eichel, because everyone talks about their flashiness and their skill.
Temper?
Those are 2 angry young men.
No, Steve, they're compete level.
Ah!
They have a high compete level.
Yes.
That's it.
That has been the interesting thing of people going back and forth with Jack Eichel. He's got a really high compete level, and now they're on a losing streak, and they're like, that young man needs to get his emotions in check. Like, I don't get it, but McDavid is a pissed off young man. Have you ever seen that video of him going into the locker room after like intermission or something like that when he was with the Erie Otters?
No. What is this video?
It's literally just the Otters sadly marching into the locker room, and McDavid, the second he crosses, the second he like enters the doorway, just goes, fuck! As loud as he possibly can. Like one of those like head shaking screams.
What will he say when they lose the cup to the Leafs?
That. I'm not doing it again. That hurt my voice.
And your face is red.
Is it?
Yes.
Sorry. My goodness.
I hate to be this guy, but I feel like Steve, if I don't say it, you're gonna say it. It's always, as a Leaf fan, because we've been burned so much, it's like, oh, this team's on a cold streak. Leafs should have no problem taking care of that. I'm a little bit terrified, but I'm also a little confident. I feel like they had it based on what we heard and what was said and what we read and what we saw in Saturday in Washington. Even though
2 back-to-back good games.
that wasn't, the Leafs weren't out of it. They put them.
And I mean, I thought McElhinney should have had at least one of the 2 Ovechkin goals that wasn't an empty netter. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Sometimes you lose games that you look good in.
Right.
I'd rather them do that than look like shit.
So here's hoping that's the case. It'll be very, very interesting to see, too, what the lineup is, because as we know, Patrick Marleau's been playing center a lot on the road, although he didn't last game.
The lines I saw were Hyman Matthews Marner.
Today?
Yeah.
Because they were talking about how great Hyman Matthews Brown were together.
I thought they were wonderful. Here, can you maybe go to Henny or CJ?
I'll look at him.
Sure. No, the lines I thought I saw were Hyman Matthews Marner, JVR Kadri Komarov.
Yep.
Marleau Bozak Brown.
Yep.
Martin Moore Nylander.
You are correct.
Hey.
That's as of 21 hours ago.
Thank you, Paul Hendrick. No, that's weird. Doesn't really put Kadri with JVR very often. I would love to know what the reasoning behind this is. Because, again, Babcock's always been like, oh, you worry about their centers. Well, okay. You're playing McDavid tonight.
Right.
And all of a sudden, well, I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Do you think Martin and Moore feel, I don't know, they feel bad or Babcock's kind of putting them down? Because whenever anybody's playing bad, now you get to go in the corner with Martin and Moore. Like, that's not good for them.
I think Martin knows his role. I think Moore is just stoked to not be scratched. And, I mean, they could complain that they're like the punishment line, but think of the players Martin and Moore have gotten to play with this season.
But
Connor Brown, William Nylander,
Mitch Marner.
All those guys have been on the fourth line.
But you get to play with them because they're being punished. And then the punishment is, hey, you get to play with Matt Martin.
Look at Matt Martin's
You're
stat
so
line.
bad. You got to play with these guys.
That's not fair. I feel bad for them.
No. They're fourth liners.
I mean, I would gladly get paid $1 million to be on the punishment line. You don't even have to play me every game. $1 million, I'm in.
you don't even have to play me every game. Oh, wow. There's 2 Matt Martins who have made the NHL. I clicked on the wrong guy. Here he is. So, Matt Martin last year, all of last year, 82 games, 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points.
Stud.
This year, you stood. This year already in 24 games, 1 goal, 6 assists, 7 points. He's 2 points shy of his season total last year. And I think part of the reason is he's played with some really good players. Picked up at least 1 assist playing, with Matthews and Marner. Helped Marner get out of his first epic streak.
And Marner's looked good, by
slump.
the way, recently.
Marner has looked... I mean, it's so hilarious that the Leafs are pulling off wins with Matthews finally not getting a shot. And he's got, I think, 2 goals in 8 games, something like that. Nylander's in a horrible slump. And Marner's in a horrible slump. But they're still winning games. Those guys are going to bust out of it at some point. And Matthews and Nylander each had a point the other night. Some slump. Allegedly. I guess. Sure. No, I'll take that. I've seen slumps. I'll take this slump.
These slumps are better than the best Leaf players for a good chunk of our childhood.
How as bad are these Leaf slumps? You know what it reminds me of? The first time Dominic Moore was on the Leafs.
Yeah.
And he was like their second line center.
And he wanted, was he going to make $3 million? And they're like, yeah, we're going to have to let you go to Buffalo.
Oh, I don't remember.
Something like that. Or was
That's
it New
going to
York?
be a no for me, dog.
I still feel bad for Matt Martin.
Nah.
I don't.
He knows his role.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him when he's a healthy scratch and he's like, yeah, I don't know why this happened. And I'm like, oh. But when he's on the fourth line, he's like, yeah, I don't know. This is where I play.
Okay.
Do you get mad when you go home and you're like, oh, my house is still here? Like that's where he lives. He lives on the fourth line. What?
But it's not like
It's a big house, too.
You go to
$2.5
where you
million
park
house.
your car and you're like, oh, look, my car's still here.
say I get a speeding ticket, and then the cop says, as your punishment, you get to go live with Steve. Would you be happy that your house is jail?
I'd be
the
like,
place where
House arrest, yeah.
bad people get to go.
I'd be like, think of how sick I'm going to get at Chell over the next little bit with Jesse. We're
Right.
just going back and forth all the time. I think it's going to be great.
Anyways,
I tell you, you win that deal.
because
Because think of how good you'll get at Chell.
we'll both be pretty good.
Plus-
Also, no
have a-
fine or jail.
You have 2 dogs and a backyard to frolic in.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I'm not
But-
seeing the downturn to the.
No,
Oh
that's
my
pretty-
God! If I'm lazy or have something to do, you can walk them.
I would gladly.
Why
Other-
haven't you moved in yet?
Other
That's the
side of
real
that,
question.
you can walk them.
I know why. It's in Oshawa.
Oh,
That's the punishment.
there it is. That's the,
The
rub.
location.
We were looking for
Yeah.
it. It's what is it? 5 cities over? How many cities away is Oshawa?
It's 5 suburbs over.
Okay.
Might as well be 100 cities.
Might as why?
Yeah,
why
once you
not
get
more?
past 3, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, what's the difference?
You're taking a Via train there tomorrow. That's how far it is.
I am. I am.
That's where you got to go to get to Montreal? That way?
Yeah, you go east.
Oh, okay.
East up the 401,
So
basically.
we're getting you along the way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I've never been on a Via. This will be fun.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah?
Yeah. Honestly, what I would recommend for
Never
anybody,
been on it with friends.
do a Via train through the mountains or do a Via train through Quebec and into Nova Scotia. I've done both. Oh my God, sit in the bubble car. It's amazing.
One thing I've heard about that, though, is there's certain times of the year when during the fall and I think early spring when you can't see anything out of the trains because all the trees are fully grown.
Oh.
So yeah, when you do the Cross Canada Via Trail, if you go in April or if you go in October, you can't see anything because there's too many trees.
Oh.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
This
I've never
might
done it, but
be
I
the
heard
most boring thing I've ever heard.
Listen, we're giving travel advice. I don't understand what the problem is here. Very clearly, this fits the format of our show. All right? Would you prefer to talk about Dragon Ball Z?
Yes, greatly. Which saga would you like to talk about? The beginning of the Frieza saga or the middle Frieza saga? Perhaps the end Frieza saga. Oh, God. Perhaps
about
the
trains
Cell
all
saga
day.
where Frieza's in it. Sorry, what?
We should talk about trains more. I don't know.
So Goku lifts up a train above his head.
No, here's what we're talking about. First off, shout out to Derek Dorsett.
Shout out to Derek Dorsett.
So it's a herniated disc that he had worked on a couple years ago. He hasn't played it since November 18th in St. Louis. So obviously
And he was
pre-existing.
having a great season.
Yeah, 7 goals, 2 assists to start the year in I think 20 games, and then they said his doctor recommended that he never play again. So he's not going to play again. He will not return to the Canucks active roster.
When was that announced?
Today.
See, I did miss a lot.
Yeah. Here's
not
what.
To
So here's-
add laughs to a dark situation. No, seriously.
Here's the story. Dorsett underwent cervical herniated disc surgery in December of 2016. So last December. Medically cleared to play this season, but his neck and back were stiff. So they reevaluated, and according to his physician, Dr. Bill Regan, when his latest symptoms presented, we immediately took the precaution of removing him from the lineup to carry out a thorough evaluation, including consultation with Dr. Watkins, who I believe did his surgery. His pre-existing conditions, combined with the recent surgery and the risks associated with continuing play, led to a recommendation that Derek seriously consider not playing again.
Seriously consider.
Well, Derek Dorsett said, "I'm devastated by the news. It'll take a long time for this to truly sink in. As hard as it was to hear, Dr. Watkins' diagnosis is definitive. There is no gray area, and it gives me clarity to move forward. I have a healthy young family and a long life of opportunities ahead. Hockey taught me a lot and will help me be successful in whatever I choose to do in the future." So if that doesn't say he's done... the guy played over 500 games in the NHL, and that I think is amazing. If he is not the Masterton winner this year.
Front runner. Boyle.
Yeah, Boyle too. Can you have joint winners?
Why not? Who
I don't
cares?
know if they've ever done that.
You know what? If you were a Masterton winner and you had to split it with someone else, and you were upset about that, you're no longer a Masterton winner.
Whoa.
It's like
Right?
It's like when you cut something in half. The old what is it, parable? When you cut something in half, and the person who's like, "Oh no, cut it in half. I don't cut it in half because I don't want it to break." That's the person who wants it more, right?
Yeah.
So what's great is the original parable is, all right, I will cut the baby in half.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a baby.
So that you each get half a baby.
What's that from? That's a nursery rhyme, isn't it? Or
No,
some-
I think it's a Bible thing.
Is it a Bible thing?
I would hope it's
Yeah.
not a nursery rhyme. All right, we'll simply...
I remember
the
hearing that as a
Brothers
kid.
Grimm. Or,
The Brothers Grimm are
yeah.
messed up.
Yo,
So,
that is it is.
It could have been something.
Everyone is just... And then everyone died.
And then everyone died.
And then at the end, everyone died.
I'm reading a couple books right now. One of them is because I'm listening. I'm never reading them. I read articles. I don't have time to sit down and read books. But one of the ones I realized that I've missed a lot of the classics. Right? Like I read 1984. I read Catcher in the Rye. I read whatever. But but I haven't heard I've never read a Charles Dickens book besides the Christmas Tale thing. So
I don't know A Tale of Two Cities.
So I am now trudging my way through Great Expectations, and the narrator of this novel is English, and this was done about 50 years ago, and they've taken out every pause in between his sentences. So when they go back and forth, it's like, and then Pip said this, and then Joe said this, and then Mr. Pumblechuck said this with his Roman nose. Mr. Pumblechuck and his Roman nose. It's, if you've ever read it. Anyway, one of the things, I don't know why did I bring this up? There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a friggin' reason for this. What were we just talking about?
I changed my mind. Jesse, tell me about the trains
What was the
and the
reason?
trees. And
What was the reason for this?
The leaves.
What were we just talking about?
The parable of cutting the baby in half.
So
And everyone died.
that's it. So everything in this book, every adult that talks to Pip basically he's an orphan who's raised by an abusive sister who beats him up and beats her husband up, who has also raised Pip, and he's a super nice guy, he's just kind of dumb. And all the adults do is tell Pip what a monster he is and how terrible he is and what a bad person he is. And it's that Victorian England
That is a
crazy
very
shit,
British-
make you feel terrible about yourself even though you've done nothing wrong yet. It's crazy to me.
I hate the Dursleys so much.
Oh!
I'm just beginning the Harry Potter books. The family Harry Potter lives with is a piece of shit family. They're assholes.
That's the modern version of his sister, and Joe's great, but
Dudley Dursley.
But Pip's sister, who raises him, is a monster. She's an absolute monster.
Harry Potter is just kind of minding his own business. Oh, you piece of shit.
Yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, so I don't know. It just reminded me of that. Anyway, Mr. Pumblechook.
I couldn't believe they called him a piece of shit in the Harry Potter books.
Yes.
You irredeemable piece of shit.
I have to ask because every old European story that ever happened,
And then they died.
it seems like there's a lot of this involved. But how much incest is there in this book?
There hasn't been. Well, I don't know if Dickens ever got into incest. However, I've never read A Tale of Two Cities, so I don't know. I'll let you know. Nothing yet.
Okay.
Nothing yet. It's
Just checking.
It is just unadulterated cruelty. Even the woman, and South Park made fun of this. There's a young girl named Estella, and there's like an older madam who is like helping Pip, but she like encourages this little girl to break his heart because she had her heart broken on her wedding day. And so she's been living in her wedding dress ever since for like 80 years. And she's like, does that break your heart, Pip? And she's like enjoying the fact that Estella's treating him like shit.
Whole episode about the book, right?
Yeah. It's like, and there's like a guy at the beginning, great expectations, but it's the South Park version. And it's true. Like these people are monsters. I'm like, how is this? This was okay.
That was a very strange.
This was believable.
Strange South Park episode because I feel like there are at least two very different South Park audiences. There's people who sit down and think and then laugh at the fart jokes as well. And then there's other people who are just like, I like when Cartman says, God damn it.
Yeah.
I feel like they might not get that episode as well.
No, they wouldn't.
I like when he says his catchphrases.
Pip midway through, he's like, what about if I killed this fluffy bunny? And then he like breaks its neck and he's like, what about 18 fluffy bunnies? And he just like keeps killing fluffy bunnies until she starts to feel. Miss Havisham. Miss Havisham. She's a monster too. That's her name. Miss Havisham. Miss Havisham.
Are you ever going to start a podcast about all the books you were reading?
No.
Listening to?
No, I'm too dumb.
Who would do that?
What do you mean?
Oh, that's all I do.
Drew Doughty. Drew Doughty should be interviewed all the time.
Wow! Yes! How did it take us so long to get to this?
Craig Custance.
Can you get accused of tampering with yourself? What is he thinking?
So let's start with...
First of all, I can't wait for the arrest of Craig Custance.
How did he do that?
Who clearly pumped Drew Doughty full of drugs. And got him to say all these wacky things about how he's definitely trying to become a Leaf.
Imagine
what
Drew
the
Doughty.
hell is this?
First off, I think you guys missed an opportunity by not asking Drew Doughty these questions a little bit more
We should have
directly.
just been like, so, you want to be a Leaf? We did ask him about playing on the Leafs.
And didn't he answer pretty honestly?
Why wouldn't we have just asked him?
Hey, so Drew, what number are you going to wear next year
With
when
the
you're
Leafs?
on the Leafs?
I
Sorry.
I don't...
So let's read through
I'm
this.
upset.
There's a lot to process here. So first
I
off,
feel like we wouldn't have had to try that hard.
Yeah! Why
Damn.
did that come up?
Ah, man, we're asking about
it's
about
honestly
chips.
it's like Craig
Dumb.
Custance sat down beside him and said, "So Drew, how's life?" And just went, "Bleh." Eric, it just was like, "Bleh." All this
Can we get
information.
the phones figured out, by the way? Because Craig wants to come on the show.
Yeah, we
and
can
now
do
we
that.
can ask him about it.
Yeah,
we
that interview I'm really interested in. We'll have to have
Craig,
headphones
how
on for
did
that.
you do that?
Just tell us the day before and we'll set it up.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay, great.
2019 is the big free agency thing. You've got Erik Karlsson, Drew Doughty, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson up. So I'm going to read directly from the article. Erik Karlsson is the other big name on defense who will be up for an extension this summer and free in 2019.
Coming off season.
This 2018 is when you can sign the extension. 2019 is when their contracts actually expire.
So
can you check
2019
that?
is the free agency.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I for sure know it is.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was this year.
No,
So
it's not.
this year.
So all three of those guys up
So
in-
wait. Sorry.
All three of those guys up in 2019, but they can negotiate as of July and sign as of July this year. Arizona's Oliver Ekman-Larsson is the third defenseman in the franchise defenseman triumvirate that's up that year. After that, it's interesting with names like Winnipeg's Tyler Myers, New York's Ryan McDonough, and Nashville's Ryan Ellis, part of the second tier. Not a bad
All
second tier.
Enormous names. Wow.
So here's what Drew Doughty had to say. And I love this. I think this is so smart because this is a perspective that you would expect, but you've never heard.
This is just the living embodiment of that gif of Seinfeld having a cigar with his feet kicked up and they're just putting bills in front of them.
Well, here's what he said. I know I'm going to talk to Carlson back and forth, see what kind of money he's looking for. I'll kind of look at what money I'm looking for. I don't know if he's going to re-sign with Ottawa. I don't know if I'm going to re-sign with LA. You just never know what's going to happen.
Fair enough.
That's a fair question.
But no one who's not seriously considering leaving the team he's with says that. I mean, that's just open and honest and true. But nobody, especially in hockey, like hockey, the most reserved, I'm not going to tell you anything interesting ever sport, which we did talk to him about. Mm-hmm. No one who's not thinking about leaving their team would say that.
It goes on.
It does, doesn't it?
Craig says the actual highest salary being paid to a defenseman right now is Shea Weber with Montreal, $12 million. Nashville's PK Subban contract carries the highest annual cap hit at $9 million. And then this is where it gets into a Doughty quote. Right now, I guess we'd be gauging off of what PK makes. I think both of us deserve quite a bit more than that. Now, I don't think that's a swipe at PK.
No.
I think it's just where they're at caliber-wise, is being honest.
Yeah, I saw a few people say, Drew threw PK under the bus.
No.
For what? Making a lot of money? For being...
Not everything is a snipe, everybody.
No, that was just him going, well...
If PK makes this, I should be making more. He thinks he's better.
It's him gassing himself up, for sure. Well, the defenseman with the highest cap hit is this guy, and I think I should be making more than that.
Fair. The reason I don't think that was a big deal is because everyone kind of accepts it. PK might have an issue with it, but, whatever. He says they'll essentially be carrying the torch for defensemen moving forward, and Doughty says, yeah, I'm fine to carry that. As in, like, the same way Mike Babcock did it for coaches.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's serious there, but, he's also... That's a quip. He's joking. Yeah, I'll carry the burden of being highly paid.
Yeah, I'll carry that. That'll be okay.
No.
Doughty said this about the Leafs. Growing up, watching them every single time, it is hard to say you'd never want to play for the Leafs. Doesn't hurt that Mike Babcock loves Doughty, and Doughty knows it. He says, oh, fuck yeah, Babs. I like Babs, too. Doughty said his enthusiasm for the coach is apparent. He's put full trust in me since I was 19 years old at the Olympics. He was 19 at the Olympics.
He was one of their best players. I saw him.
I remember. I'll never forget. I showed up at the Olympics, and he said, Douts, you're going to start off as our 7th D. The better you play, the more you're going to play. I ended up playing the 3rd or 4th most minutes. He trusted me from day one. He still has trusted me. Now, this is where it gets super interesting. Doughty still has a place in London, Ontario, and pointed out it's only 2 hours away from Detroit. Sorry, and when it's pointed out that it's only 2 hours away from Detroit, Doughty played Tuesday night there. The Red Wings are another team that will make a big push for Doughty if he does shake loose. Part of, and this is the first I've heard of this, part of the Red Wings' strategy, Ken Holland's strategy, is to land elite talent through free agency in the next couple years. So Doughty and Carlson would be their biggest target. So
kind of has to.
Kind of has to. Isn't that interesting, though? Now we kind of know how Detroit plans on building a little bit. One agent who doesn't represent any of these three big defensemen set the odds for us. And this is directly from Craig Custance. He says, if I'm going to lay the odds, Ekman-Larsson is 99.9% in a different uniform no later than July 1st, 2019. And probably sooner than that. Drew Doughty is 75% a lifetime Los Angeles King. The big question is Carlson.
75%? Well,
What does that mean?
How as bad are the odds for Doughty?
The percentage thing is a little weird, but the rest of it's very interesting.
Yeah.
It just sounds like
the dumbest quote was from an agent.
Well,
would've
hold on,
thought?
but hold on though. That I don't think that's as dumb as you guys think it
I
is.
don't think it's dumb. I think it's weird to characterize something by a percentage of how likely.
I would say that he heard and has heard from several people through industry insider sources that Oliver Ekman-Larsson's really unhappy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Here's what I
would
took
say.
from that, and he should have worded it this way.
Yeah.
Ekman-Larsson is likely leaving, and you can derive that he is unhappy. Doughty is probably staying with the Kings, but maybe not.
It wouldn't
Carlson,
shock me.
I don't have a read.
Yeah, and the thing with
That
Oliver
was a lot
Ekman-Larsson,
more eloquent than 75%.
yeah.
Thank you. No one has ever said that before, so I'll just tuck that in.
The thing about Oliver Ekman-Larsson that's interesting, and here's why I feel like that quote has some credence, is they have his brother, they brought his brother in to play with the Roadrunners, and they brought his buddy Chalmerson in from Chicago
Yeah, they're pulling out all the stops
to
because
try to keep him.
he's unhappy. probably.
So they know.
John Shannon pointed out that this is a team that had to take on dead salary just to get to the floor. And if OEL thinks he's going to get like $10 million and then they're going to build a team around him, like he shouldn't expect that. No. They don't have the money to. This franchise just doesn't have money. So I don't know how he could want to stay.
Can the Arizona Coyotes ever, at any point in their franchise's existence, compete for a Stanley Cup?
Well, they have. They've gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals. Western Conference.
That would be fantastic.
Wow, that would be
impressive.
That would
be more impressive than getting to the Stanley Cup Finals.
They CFL'd it.
Yeah. Screw it. They win the cup on a rouge.
You missed that shot? We'll give you 1 point.
1 point.
Because they couldn't get it out of the zone. 1 point.
What?
Goal.
What? Yeah. Just counts. Just counts.
That's true.
No. Like, okay, if you draft spectacular talent, you develop the spectacular talent. The talent becomes one of the best players in the league, and then you can't re-sign them, and it's just a vicious cycle of that continuously, if you're lucky, because you got to do all the first parts.
Which is very hard.
How do you compete for a cup? How on earth?
Let's
say they hit with Strome, which is a maybe. It looks like they hit with Keller. That's not really a maybe.
No.
Let's say they hit with Dvorak. Let's say they
Lawson
hit
Krause,
with
Dylan Strome.
Krause. I already said Strome,
Oh,
but
you
let's
did.
say it again for the people in the back. How do they... Max Domi, they hit with him.
Anthony Duclair.
Oh, what if that revives? You know, what if all of a sudden it's hat-trick Duclair again? Who actually got a recent hat-trick. I was thinking about the Rangers hat-trick.
Would he be...
Why do I still remember that?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't.
Like, you got to hit with everything. Like, you can't even be mediocre. And then
That's why...
it's like, it's so many of the things you hit with by the end of the season might have expired. What if they end up hitting with Ranta and then they price themselves out of having Ranta? Like, what do they do? How do you ever compete for a cup?
That's why, to me...
I'm not dumping on them. I feel for fans. Like, imagine the optimism you need to have to be a Leafs fan and be like, they're going to win the cup.
Poor
They're the
Coyotes
richest
fans.
team in the league by far. They can spend kooky amounts of money. What's the cap? Cool. They're going to spend that every single year. The Coyotes are struggling to even hit the floor.
Right, and that's brings up the whole thing about, you know, the hilarious conversation that Calgary Flames management meeting with Houston or Houston meeting with Bettman or whatever. To me, Arizona to Houston, and I'm sorry, Coyotes fans. I know I'm going to hear from you. To me, if you're going to move a team, that is the team.
And they're not going to, so you don't. Well, Carolina.
They just sold.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
okay, so
the sale's confirmed.
So that was funny. I saw Kermanos. I saw his picture on Twitter. I saw something Hurricanes, but it was all in French.
Yeah, it's out. He's gone.
Interesting.
I don't know if his son is still suing him, though. That I would like to follow up on.
Maybe.
For $100 million. By the way, just breaking right now, I'm going to just quick sidestep. Cam Talbot is out at least 2 weeks, according to Todd McClellan, and it could be longer. That's not good for Edmonton.
That's bad. What are Brossois' numbers? Laurent Brossois. Be interested to see. Because I remember I was like, oh, he was bad. And then we looked up his numbers. It's like, oh, he's actually quite good. Boy, that's unfortunate for the Oilers. It's like they just start getting a little bit of traction. Holy moly! Okay, so he's played in 6 games. He has a record of 0-3-1 with a save percentage of .881.
It's not bad.
Someone who had a similar save percentage just a week ago, Carey Price. So you never know. You never know.
So this is the question is, and I don't blame Oliver Ekman-Larsson for this one bit. The management in the time that he's been there has not got it together. Not management, ownership. And then I look at what's happening with the Islanders and Tavares, who has been on fire this year. He's been unbelievable. The Islanders are doing well.
So lucky for that, eh?
Still.
How lucky?
How do you sell John Tavares even on that new arena? Because it's at least 3 years away.
You sell competitors on winning.
How do you sell the Islanders? How do you sell the Islanders winning long term?
The standings.
Just this year?
Look at it. Look at it.
Well, apparently they haven't even had the conversations yet. So they better have them soon while they're winning. That's what I would do. He's up, guys. He's up. Like, this is it. And I wonder, I don't blame a guy like Tavares looking and going, man, still don't have it together. These guys still don't have it together. I still don't have a home arena.
I'd be interested to see that. Because they just seem like a team with, they don't have like Carey Price goaltending, but they got two.
Isn't it Thomas Greiss and
Yaroslav Halak? They got two good goaltenders. They got some defense.
Yeah.
They got some really good young parts, which any team needs. They got an elite center in Tavares, and they got some complementary players.
And apparently Tavares is very loyal, so he probably doesn't want to leave. And Matthew Barzal, man, wow. What a steal that the Griffin Reinhart trade was. Holy smokes.
So I'm just looking at their team right now. Their top line, Anders Lee, John Tavares, Josh Bailey. Yeah, okay, well, it's John Tavares. Andrew Ladd, Matthew Barzal, Jordan Eberle. Pretty good. Brock Nelson, Alan
Quinn
or Kinney?
I've never heard of him.
Allegedly. Kinney. And Josh Hosang. Okay. Fourth line, Jason Chimera, Anthony Beauvillier, who is a rookie, and Cal Clutterbuck. Defense, Nick Leddy, Johnny Boychuk, hey. Calvin DeHaan, Adam Pelech, hey. Thomas Hickey, Scott Mayfield. Never heard of Mayfield, but all right. I mean, I think you can sell Tavares on that team.
You think so?
I do. If they were crap with the exact same team, I don't think you can. I just think it's competitors like to win, man. Competitors like to win. If they offer him the money, you already started a life there. Mm-hmm. You're second in the division right now. I mean, that's the sort of decision I don't think you make until, as Tavares, I don't think you make until after the playoffs are done. Yeah. Imagine they make the playoffs, they do finish second in the division, and then they lose in the first round or something.
You're still on the upswing, though, from a team that didn't make the playoffs.
God, we're always saying that about the Islanders. Hey, look here, they're here now. Mm-hmm. They're here. Nope.
And then come July 1st, I would see him just be like, okay, what are my options? Because which market is going to, because nothing's going to be bigger than New York, that in terms of market. So who's going to offer him the money?
1 year deal with the Leafs. 1 year deal. Come on, John. 1 year deal.
Who's out there besides Montreal that would offer him?
Yeah, Montreal. I think he might be a Canadian man. Just give him max.
I mean,
does he want to go to Montreal?
Do they have another plan?
That has to be their plan.
I've already seen pictures of Habs fans who mock Scotch tape put Tavares on the back of a Habs jersey.
I think what was it? Jeff Bayette that had the Leafs
Luongo jersey.
Who's 91 on the Habs? Most recently.
Shoot, they did have a 91 recently. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. It's Tavares now. I think they had him as 19 though on the jersey that I saw. What else is their plan? And then Joe Thornton's a UFA. So your silver medal is Joe Thornton.
Okay.
Maybe the Habs get both.
48-year-old Joe Thornton.
He's making $8 million right now.
I don't think he will next year.
Yeah.
I didn't think he would this year.
It's a lot of money. But he's a great player, but it's a lot of money.
That is a crazy amount of money.
That's more money than I think any Leaf player currently makes.
Oh, yeah.
By almost
Easily.
$3 million.
Yeah.
Isn't Marlowe the highest paid Leaf right now?
Yep.
6.25?
No, 5 something.
No.
No way, it's not 625.
Mm-hmm.
Cap friendly.
Mm-hmm. Cap friendly.
Why buy it?
You know what is it?
I was doing the why buy a mattress, but I don't know why I sang cap friendly.
Yeah, I don't either. So what does he make?
Cap friendly Canada.
Marlowe's at 6.25.
Oh,
hot damn.
Kadri's second at 4.5.
that's
What?
amazing.
No. Riley is
Riley.
second.
At $5 million.
And plus there's Lupul and Horton.
Anderson's also at 5, and Horton is at 5.3, and Lupul is 5.25.
Goodness gracious. Ooh.
That Horton contract.
That's
right.
going to change awful quick, though.
I just want to mention this. Here are some people who are going to be RFAs going into this summer. You ready? RFAs.
Oh.
I never get too excited about
don't
RFAs.
Don't get too excited.
Because I'm always like, ooh.
But some of the names here, you got to think someone's desperate enough. Maybe Montreal.
Can we get an Adam Wilde analogy of the RFA feeling? of the this guy's an RFA, but what does that compare to?
That's a
What
good.
war?
That's a
Maybe not a war.
War. Just,
no war, man.
How about I don't
no
think
war?
anybody's been like, war.
Well, I mean, they were at the beginning of World War I. They were like, yeah, 6 months. Woo! It's going to be 6 months. We're going to be home. Victorious.
there it is.
5 years later, we're like, we're still stuck in these damn trenches. That's
So an
seriously how it went.
upcoming RFA is World War I.
Ooh.
I'm watching you talk to Chris Hadfield on your other podcast that we shan't name with Sasky Story. You're talking to Chris Hadfield, astronaut, and you're like, the Cold War.
Well, no, he intercepted a Russian bomber.
I know, that's insane.
Which, by the way, that bomber that he intercepted, that same class of bomber dropped the biggest nuclear weapon ever during a test in Soviet Russia. I did a little it
lived the craziest freaking life.
He was the first Canadian pilot to ever intercept a Russian bomber. You think one thing goes wrong, World War III.
Did he do it
One
in a
thing.
spaceship?
No, he did it in an airplane. He was a pilot in the 80s.
But he's an astronaut.
But he was a pilot.
Why didn't they get him to fly a spaceship?
Well, you're close to it. He told this really cool story about how when he was flying out and he was flying north of Canada and that sort of thing, or the northern end of Canada, he would shut off all the lights in the cockpit and pretend he was in space.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. And
Just lives the
Sasky was
craziest
like,
life. And then
Sasky's
he's like,
like,
I think the Leafs are improving.
I did this. Sasky's like, yeah, I pulled that from the prep. I'm like, yeah, but I had to ask that question because, look at, it was amazing, right? Like, it's cool to hear a guy who loves flying because flying to me seems like a rock star job. It's such a cool thing.
Just called Jesus Christ, look at the shit I've done.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, let's go through these RFA lists. Okay,
Sorry.
Mark Stone,
right.
Mark Stone, William Nylander,
Ooh.
Dylan Larkin, William Karlsson, Jacob Trouba, Anthony Mantha, JT Miller, Brandon Montour, Jason Zucker, Max Domi, Noah Hannafin, Sven Barchi, Vladislav Nemestikov, who is the third part of that ridiculous Tampa Bay first line, Connor Hellebuck, Elias Lindholm, Cody Ceci, Robin Lehner, and that's just 18 of them. There are several others that are pretty good. Matt Dumba is also an RFA.
There are not a lot of players on that list who are not going to be paid.
How many did you name?
That was, I think,
Like 20?
16.
Oh,
16?
18.
All right. I would bet you
Oh, here it is.
your annual salary that all 16 get re-signed.
Yeah, I would too.
What
But it's
Jesse
still,
said.
but it's still fun to
crazy interesting.
speculate.
Yeah.
Hey, so I'm bringing this up because
At best, an RFA gets traded for an RFA.
yeah,
But you're probably right.
yeah, you're right, for sure. Especially Connor Hellebuck, man, the way he's played after Steve Mason's gone down with his concussion.
William Karlsson went from taken in the expansion draft to I
Wow.
think he's his team's leading scorer.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, Vegas is going to pay him.
Does Buffalo re-sign Robin Lehner? And if they don't, what the hell do they do?
Well, I think you just answered the question. I don't think they want to, but what do we do?
Do you, if you're Buffalo and you're already bad, and you might get Rasmus Dahlin, do you, which is hilarious, do you trade away some of the pieces, the Kyle Okpozos and the Ryan O'Reillys? Like, if Montreal doesn't get Tavares, tell me they wouldn't look at a guy like Ryan O'Reilly. $7.5 million a year, good leader, tough as nails.
Has to trade for him. I like it.
But, does Buffalo go, okay, let's tinker a bit here. Let's see what we can get in returns. If we can get a Charles Houdon or something like that.
Another team that really badly needs to put their GM cap on. You just need to make some magic happen.
Right.
You got to figure it out. They're talking about trading Evander Kane. All right, you better rip off whatever team you trade him to.
I don't think they'll re-sign him, though. That's the thing.
Well, no, but I'm saying you can't just trade Evander Kane. You need to nail it. You need to. There are a bunch of GMs who are in win now mode, and I don't mean on the ice. I mean in deals. Bergevin is in win now mode. Chiarelli is in win now mode. Buffalo win now
Why
mode.
is Chiarelli in win now mode?
No, he's in win trades now mode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he has to be.
So I'm going to bring up this story, and it's not hockey related, but I still think it's important because when I talked to Jesse about it yesterday, his reaction was their head coach is fucking stupid.
Oh, I was about to say, which war is it about?
It is the Eli Manning situation with the New York Giants.
Okay, so I don't know much about this. So
basically, Eli Manning has played 210 straight games, and you think about a football season, it's 16 games long.
That is 40 years.
Yeah, it's a long time. Couple Super Bowl rings. Now, Eli Manning is not his brother, and It's
so he's even worse.
Yeah, so it's arguable. I wouldn't say unlikely, but arguable that he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I think he'll go in. Whether you believe he should or not, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Who cares?
He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's going into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people going, well, he shouldn't, and here's why. But Ben McAdoo is their coach, and he has decided to sit Eli because they've started 2-9. Now, 2 weeks ago,
They've started 2-9.
they've started 2-9.
I don't know if that's a start.
Well, they're
Sorry.
to this point. Thank you, Steve.
Sorry.
Hey,
here's my football take.
So the owners of the Giants a couple weeks ago came out and said we have full confidence in our head coach. And here's what the head coach suggested. He said, "We'll start Eli Manning. We'll keep starting him. But no matter what the score is, come halftime, he's coming out and Geno Smith comes in. So if they're up by a blazillion points, Eli Manning still comes out of the game."
I mean, that almost makes more sense than if they're losing, doesn't it? Right? Because if they're up by a bajillion points, wouldn't you just want to save your quarterback?
No.
'Cause
You
he's
played
old?
Steve.
I don't know,
No.
dude. I'm asking a question.
Jesse,
I had some Ben McAdoo stats, and I can't find them. I'm
he's
upset.
looking. Steve,
Are the stats
Steve.
wackadoo?
Frederick Anderson's playing really great.
Yeah.
Playing really great hockey. Let's pull him at the end of the second period because we want to save him so he can play more great hockey.
I mean, I have thought of that in the past. I'm just saying. I know it's stupid, but sometimes I like to dream. Sometimes I like to dream.
Get you sometimes.
What
man.
about that extra 20 minutes rest?
I thought you would find that absolutely insane and ridiculous. I am very surprised by your.
I think it's, I don't know. I don't know much about football, but isn't it weird to do that regardless of the situation? Constantly switch up your QB, even if they're healthy?
Yes.
QB,
It is.
You have a coach who is going to get fired at the end of the season because he doesn't have a winning record, and he has an elite quarterback. Well, a quarterback who was elite, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And
Who's
he can't
injured,
win
isn't
and who's currently injured, who's been injured for half the season, and who can't win a game. But yet, it's the quarterback's problem, and he's benching him for no reason for a guy who's not going to be the future of the team. Geno Smith's 27 and hasn't proved anything. And you're just going to take Eli Manning out for no reason. The franchise quarterback, the guy who's the face of your team. And he's blaming the problems on this guy when it clearly has nothing to do with him.
Is he blaming the problems on him, or is he doing the typical thing where he's a coach who's gotten too clever?
No.
He's like, I'm going to do this thing no one really does, and it's going to work.
Well, it seems like he's just not a fan of Eli Manning. And here's what's interesting is that 2 weeks ago, by the way, the last name of the family is Mara, that owns the New York Giants. Last name of the Steelers family, Rooney. Their kid's married, and Rooney Mara, actress. I believe she's Academy Award nominated, and her sister Kate are kids of the Rooney and Mara clan. Isn't that
feel
cool?
like you've told us that before, and
Isn't that
I'm
nuts?
still as clueless as the first time you
Kate
said
Mara
it.
from House of Cards.
Yeah, Kate Mara from House of Cards and Rooney Mara from
but which one is she?
everything. She's in
She
so
was
many
the
movies.
one that, spoiler, House of Cards.
Season
If you haven't
one.
seen it, turn off for the next
She's
18
a reporter.
seconds. Frank Underwood pushed her in front of the
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So yeah. Anyway, so a couple weeks ago,
Even with the spoiler, you're like, hey, Frank.
a couple weeks ago, they go.
I totally got it.
Sorry.
Couple weeks ago, the owner says, and the owner and GM come out and say, we are not making any coaching changes till the end of the season. Now, I believe it was yesterday, he goes, well, there's no guarantees in life. I made my statement a couple weeks ago, but there's no guarantees in life.
There's no guarantees in life, and Drew Doughty's at the back going, tell me about it.
It's annoying because the season is a wash.
Yes.
They have nothing to play for. Why mess up the guy who's been there for his entire career, who's the face of your franchise, like I keep saying?
Why
He's won
continue
2
to alienate
Super
him?
Bowls. Why bench him? What's the reason? There isn't a good one. You're not playing for anything. Let the guy who is this team play out the season and probably retire and go off into the sunset. Who cares?
Eli was crying. Like, he was so upset.
Are you guys saying this to say Jack Eichel should not be on the third line, or to say that Nylander should not be on the fourth line. Because I think I'm starting to get it. Did I get it?
I hope Ben McAdoo is happy with the severance package he receives in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he will be. He's not going to be like, oh, money.
Why light a match and throw it in gasoline on your way out? Why do that?
It's my favorite thing with the NFL because I don't think the Giants were supposed to be good anyway. And that's what's hilarious. It's like, well, we're not winning. Well, nobody thought you were going to win. You're bad. You're a bad team.
I expected
You're bad.
nothing, and I was still disappointed.
Like, their offensive line is garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage. Eli Manning's old. He can't move to the side. He can't shift to side to side anymore. So if you got an old quarterback who can't move, you better have a good offensive line to keep him blocked, right?
Football is such a strange sport because there are so many players where I watch them on the field and I'm like, you don't look like you can move comfortably. Like in day-to-day life. Like you look like
Most
you
of them
breathe
can't.
heavy in the grocery
well,
store.
one thing, they're wearing like a suit of armor, to be fair.
True, but like, okay, Ben Roethlisberger, for example.
Yeah.
Whenever I just watch him move around, I'm like, your knees have to be so sore all the time.
Have you ever seen him run, though?
No.
He can move.
Can he?
It's surprising. And he's big, too.
I don't get it.
He's
He
a big
runs
boy.
like Braun Strowman.
Yeah. Yeah.
WWE. Wrestling.
Anyways, Ben McAdoo
It's real.
will be out of a job and probably won't have one very soon.
Chris Johnson reporting that Austin Matthews is not on the ice for the skate this morning in Edmonton.
Stop it, Christopher.
I don't know what that means. It just might mean he's taking a maintenance thing. Sometimes they do that too.
I hope so. Oh, boy. And he hasn't looked 100%, has he? Oh, boy.
Let's do the press conference, shall we?
The Presser. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
You know what, though? Bozak takes maintenance days all the time, and we don't even care.
Yeah, because he's Tyler Bozak
Yeah.
and not Austin Matthews. And no offense to Tyler, but like there's sort of a difference, right?
He'd be like, I know.
Yeah, exactly. So let's keep going here. Press conference, Jesse?
Someone on the Reddit wrote a Steve question. A divide and name the drafted year.
Okay.
All
All right.
So-
all right. This is my new favorite game.
That's a good game.
What would you like first, the player or the long divide?
Player.
Sean Avery.
Sorry. Plural. Sean Avery. Oh, boy.
Year? I'll ask you for the year he was drafted and the team.
Year. No. 98. I don't know. 98. I want to say first round. Detroit. I'm going to go ahead and say like 24th overall. Jesse's smiling.
Sean Avery
Sean Avery.
was undrafted.
But he did start with Detroit though.
Yes, that was his first year.
All right. Consolation
Trick
prize.
question.
Here's my participant ribbon.
All right. Second part. What's 102 divided by 3?
Oh, dude.
That's hard.
So no, okay. So 90 would be 30. And then 102 would be 12 on top of that. So 34. Austin Matthews.
Nailed it. Well done. You always get 1 out of the 2.
Wow. If I was going to say he got 1 out of 2, it would not have been the division. That's not what I
No.
would have called.
But yes, 102 divided by 3 is Austin Matthews. Well done.
I feel good. And James Reimer. More importantly.
Don't encourage this. Don't say anything.
This is
Ginger
from Brownageddon.
That's a good name.
Does the Golden Knights goalie coach, Dave Pryor, win the Jack Adams Award?
Man, true that. Good question. Yeah.
That's really good. That's an
Probably.
interesting question because most head coaches will tell you, I don't know anything about goalies. I don't know. Goalie coaches should probably get a little more credit than they get.
Gerard Gallant, if he does, like, if they make the playoffs this year,
Just stop voting. Stop voting.
and
he
how
wins.
And how Doug McLean will Doug McLean be if that happens?
The Panthers
because the Panthers suck, and
went
he called
back
it.
to Dale Talon. You know what's not a story at all this year? They went back to their old ways and still blow. Why doesn't anyone care about that anymore? Oh, because you can sit with us. Just saying.
Oh, but they're Dale Talon's
Let's all
team
be
now.
fair about it. They want Eric and Branson back, for crying out loud.
Ugh.
And I like Eric, too. I feel bad, like some of the things we've said regarding trade talk. I was going through an old hard drive recently, and I found some old pictures. So I was like, "Oh yeah, I interviewed Eric and Branson back in the day."
Listen,
nice.
nobody's saying he's a bad person.
No, but like, I don't know.
I'm saying what we're really not even making fun of him as a player. It's more like the misinformed views of the value that he adds. You know that he adds value. You know he's an NHL player, but he's not what many would say he is.
Look at the Canucks and look at the Panthers. That's all I'm going to say. Look at the standings. That's all I'm going to say. Leadership. That's how it works. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, Robert De Niro, I appreciate
That's
that.
all
That was the last question.
Yeah.
That's because I'm covered in moles, Adam.
Bulbasaur Kifachu, who always comes with the list.
Coming with the sweet names. I love it.
I like this one. If we were to add a fourth member to the show, and it had to be a former Leaf, who would it be?
First name that comes to mind is Colby Armstrong.
That was the first answer.
Yeah, I like that one. I think that's good.
Arm dog.
Broadcasting background.
Darcy Tucker seems
sportsman.
like he's a good talker.
See, I feel like Darcy Tucker is a little more careful about what he says, whereas Colby's still like, I'm new here about the whole thing. Like, he's still like too young to even be retired.
Yeah.
And so he's just like, well, here's my honest to God opinion. And he gets yelled at for it. Dude, the Ryan Smith story that he told.
Oh, yeah.
Who was that? I promised who?
Yeah.
I promised.
I promised Horka wouldn't do this.
Horka.
That was Ryan Whitney. That was Ryan Whitney.
Horka wouldn't do this.
That was great.
That was really
You know who would be funny? And you guys are gonna hate this. I think just having an alternate viewpoint that is so different from ours, it would be irritating for us. But I also do think it would be kind of interesting as JR.
Well, he wasn't a former Leaf, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's former Leaf?
Yeah.
Oh,
Can't do
okay.
Roenick, yeah.
Every
Damn.
episode, 5 minutes. Fuck off!
Someone gets up and leaves.
Dangle.
But let me tell you about America. Let me tell you about America.
Former Leaf.
Former Leaf.
Kiprios.
Yeah.
I guess that counts.
Kipper, I think
Former Leaf.
Kipper's my pick, man. I love that guy. I think that was
yeah.
that'd be great. He's awesome. And he's different, but depending upon what company he's with. Like with us, he was telling us crazy stories. With Doug, he's like sparring.
Yeah.
With Colby Armstrong, you could tell like there's that brotherhood of guys who have played.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more jovial. Like you put him in different positions and you see different sides of him.
You know what Colby does that, like, I hope no one ever tells him not to, because he's one of the panel. He's supposed to be one of the experts, but often they'll throw to him and then he'll struggle with his answer a bit and then he'll ask a really good question.
So he rehosts.
Yeah. And like, I always smirk when he does it, but I'm like, that's actually a really good question. And it always ends up leading to a good conversation. I think he'd be really good.
He's a
to have.
conversationalist.
He's not a blowhard. He's honest, but he's not a blowhard. So I think I'd really
Also,
like him on the
That's
show.
so rare.
I know.
Yeah. A very convincing Daenerys Targaryen, can we just say?
Oh, yes.
Holy moly.
He couldn't stop laughing. That was funny.
Other great.
Naz. But it's got to be former Leafs.
When Naz retires.
When Naz
Yeah,
retires,
he'd be
he'll
great.
good.
He would be cool.
He will be
Yeah.
good.
You know who else?
Connor Carrick also.
Underrated? Zach Hyman.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because he
is
gives
funny.
He gives
I haven't heard him
honest
talk enough.
answers.
Yeah.
He gives honest answers. If you could get him to tell stories, which I'm not convinced he can do, I don't know one way or the other. To me, I'm always like, that's an interesting and very Roman Polak, another guy where I'm like, that guy answers questions.
He's pretty good too.
Not Ron Hainsey, because he makes it clear every time he gets interviewed how much he hates getting interviewed. I'm like, Ron, relax,
brutal.
bro. There's like five questions,
Kills
dog.
penalties
Also,
and quotes.
It's been 20 years. Like, get over it.
Man. Like literally, he's like, when he scored a goal it was last week, I think he said, the one downside is I got to talk to you guys. Like, what an insulting, shitty thing to say. And he's not kidding. Like,
They asked him about the White House stuff because he was on the Penguins and he just went next. And it was just like, oh, okay. Well,
He doesn't care.
whatever. Hey, score the points, win the games.
Yeah. Anyways, we got to go.
you know what I would like to do
Former
is be like, hey, Ron, I don't want to talk to you either. Just see what his reaction is.
Oh, shit.
He's probably like, good, go. I think, though, Ron Hainsey strikes me as a guy, if you could get him to open up, he'd have some very interesting things to say.
Well, I think getting answers out of Matthews and Marner would be pulling teeth. But I think if you gave them their own show,
Damn, yeah.
I'd watch that.
Yo,
Yes.
Matt, okay, let's talk about current NHLers that would have a great radio show if you put them together.
No. Current NHLers who would make great YouTube channels.
Matt Martin and Mitch Marner,
Yes.
for sure. It would just be great.
Just watch them play video games all day.
I think Phil Kessel's would be interesting boring. So it would be like,
Yeah.
Phil, it's just-
performance art.
you know how there's like Kanye doing things? I would just like to see a Phil doing things YouTube
Yeah.
channel. Like, what are you doing today, Phil?
Did
I'm
you
buying
see
some
that-
carrots.
Did you see that there's a Star Wars night in Pittsburgh and they used Kessel?
Really?
That's absolutely perfect. Well, the Kessel
I
Run.
was
it up.
they're doing their Star Wars night in Tampa Bay pretty soon. I think it's next week. And I was at the last one.
Have you ever seen the Tumblr? Oh, that's awesome. It's Kessel and R2D2.
He did the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Bless you?
Star Wars things. Oh, and he's wearing a mask. Jesus. I don't even remember what I was about to say. Oh yeah, you ever seen the Tumblr Kim Jong Il looking at things? It's just pictures of him looking at things.
Il
For
or
some-
Un?
I think it's Il.
Okay, the old one.
Yeah, so you're just scrolling and it's the most mundane shit, but for some reason you just
interesting.
laugh harder and harder the more you scroll down. I would definitely follow Phil Kessel looking at things.
Yeah, my favorite propaganda photos are from North Korea, obviously, because they're so blatantly dumb. But I love, like, he'll be like petting a dog and he'll have like advisors around him writing it down. Like,
He
like,
pet the dog.
wow,
1:30
interesting.
p.m. Head up.
Front to back. Front to back.
Sometimes, though, he focuses on the lower back, which dogs have trouble getting to, and they love. They go,
The dog kicked its leg. Is the dog malfunctioning? No, it enjoys it.
that's good. Anyway, hey,
Anyway, shout out Gianni for sending me the Darth Kessel on Twitter.
thanks, Johnny. Love you.
Yeah, if I think of some more names, I'll say him. Oh, Ed Belfour.
Oh, yeah.
Would probably not say very much, but I bet whatever he did, he just walks in here. Jeans, like pale faded jeans, cowboy boots, plaid shirt, denim jacket,
And he drives his Ford F-150 right up to the mic.
wallet on a chain, hair
Wallet on a chain.
dripping with grease.
Steve's old Carl Can-I jeans on. I remember one time.
Dart.
Didn't he get some? He was in court for something, and he wore like an Exco sweater to it or something like that. Like in the late.
He got inducted into the Hall of Fame. He had a Canadian tuxedo on.
Attaboy.
Just yeah, Belfour would be really good. And
You know, guys like Belfour. There are guys and girls in every industry and every sport and everything that are like, they're so good naturally that they just don't care. Like, it's almost like they're just good because they're good. And I think Ed was one of those guys, and I know obviously he cared, but like he's just like, it was like an effortlessly good. Like, I'm Ed Belfour. I'm probably gonna get into some trouble off the ice. Also, I'm gonna take your crappy team all the way to the finals.
hey, I'm kind of nuts. You're gonna deal with it. Trust me. As he walks away.
That's it. That's Ed Belfour.
Slowly walks away. You know that's exactly how it would go.
Great. Oh my God, it's
Ed
true.
Belfour,
Yeah.
co-host Steve Dangle podcast.
He'd be great. You're right.
I was thinking about Kyle Quincy. Ed, can you bring up Kyle Quincy stats? No. And he's done for the show.
I bet you got to think about it. Tony Amonte, JR, Jeremy Roenick, Ed
be a good
Belfour,
show.
Chris Chelios on one team. There must have been some times One of these days, there's going to be some stories from that era. One of these
One
days.
of these days. Builder Lego, I think, would be another Ed Belfour type.
And wasn't Steve Larmer on that team too? Anyway.
I don't know.
There are some
we need
players.
a wrap.
Oh,
Yeah,
we should wrap.
2 minutes.
Should rap on Eddie.
No,
Eagle out.
would he even make time for that? Eddie, your catchphrase should be Eagle out.
And then he would just very, very slightly turn his head while still back facing you and just go,
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness.